These chambers are much changed.
Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. As today we just get completely ruined. Obviously last time we left off on the lowest level of what appears to be a Temple of Jurgle, the Scribe of the Dead, one of like 6 gods of the dead, who appear to be active during this particular period of Faerun history. Our explorations thus far have resulted in fighting a bunch of sarcophagi, rescuing a richly adorned sarcophagi, and finding an amulet that effectively grants infinite speak with dead. So, you know, not too shabby. Let's see what else this place has to offer. Oh.
All right. What now?
You know what? We'll re-stealth once we're away from the accusing eyes of the dead. Okay, smaller, less fanciful crypt.
Forbidden knowledge, without a doubt.
That sounds promising.
This book is far lighter than it should be with such a massive lock.
Alright, Cosmic Squid Boss. I know we don't always see eye to eye, but let's get this done. Odds are in our favor on this one.
As the lock opens, a loose page comes with it. Magic pulses from the parchment. What was once script is now an obliterated scrawl. You have a sense these are names, a list. But of what?
Oh, religion. Not our strong point, but we'll give it a shot. Oh, that's actually not that bad.
Gods. These are the names of gods, once lost but now restored after the Second Sundering. The last 3 names in this book sit close together, but are so devastated by the scrawl as to be unreadable. Entire pantheons have dwindled and been reborn, silently recorded by this book.
Aha! You sought to keep your secrets from me, but I read you like an open book. Ooh, and a scroll of Ray of Enfeeblement. Nice. Oh, can we actually read this? The names of dead gods, most of them unfamiliar and unpronounceable, fill the pages of this ancient tome. Several entries on the last page have been stricken through. The final 3, thoroughly enough to be completely illegible. Which, I have to imagine, is the big 3. Bane, Bahal, and Merkel, the focus of the original Baldur's Gate games, who all ended up dead but are now alive again. Just one of the oddities of the revised and updated lore in 5th edition Forgotten Realms. Which, I mean, they must work into the plot here somewhere. Especially since the guy we just freed, Wither, fairly certain that's the avatar of Jurgle, Scribe of the Dead, the original god of death in the Faerun setting who gave the Dead 3 their powers. We'll keep an eye out for any relevant lore books. Room looks clear. I'm not seeing any obvious signs of hidden nooks or crannies. Let's hit the big door. We'll re-stealth before we continue. Aside from potential undead, we know there's a rival group of treasure hunters in here somewhere.
What a mess the ages
And annoyingly, the tagalongs do not auto-stealth with the rest of the party. You have to do it manually.
Out of mind.
How long has it been?
Simple.
Wow, really just rolling as a formality. Thank you, Asterion. Alright, what do we got? A lot of nothing at a glance.
This place wasn't built for the living.
I mean, yeah. Again, Temple of Jurgle, Scribe of the Dead. Clearly not for the living. I like those tapestries. Shame I can't take those. Ooh, here we go. We've got multiple chests.
Don't waste a step.
Let's start with the dead end over here. That's slightly disappointing. That's like 16 gold. On death and resurrection. Should we read that? That does sound relevant. Yeah, let's do it. A thin and pliable volume, smelling faintly of dust. An excerpt from the ongoing Metatext Rebound by Iosefa Elgin, a scholar excommunicated from the Church of Denier for her heretical efforts to reconstruct the Metatext, her god's annal of lost and hidden knowledge. Of what value is a life? Far too esoteric a topic to warrant any serious critical consideration between these pages, surely. Or so it would seem at first glance. But once we push aside the mysticism and dewy-eyed sentiment so often clouding our assessment, it is clear that across all the spinning planes, each and every life does indeed have a quantifiable value. It is simply that not all are equally valuable. Consider, we already know that the destruction of our material form is not the end. If anything, our souls are more free after death, transcending planar barriers in search of a resting place that best befits our deeds, beliefs, and station in life. But even this assessment is subject to market forces, Lord Kelemvor weighing our souls against how thoroughly we have given them over to other gods, empowering them in turn. There is, of course, an alternate route, not the end of the path, but the chance to retread it. Clerics across the realm wield the power to return life to any soul deemed worthy or willing enough. It is strange, then, that these so frequently intersect with those deemed wealthy enough, for the components for such a spell are beyond the means of most mortals. I have interviewed those who have made such a return, and in truth have found them to be of the most dull and unimaginative sort that I cannot possibly imagine what it is they were so eager to return to. If a true assessment of the journey is to be made, then there is simply no replacement for embarking upon it oneself. Perhaps one day this great volume of learning will make me worthy enough to walk that path, and wealthy enough to return. Yeah, you know, I've touched on it before in similar games, but It really would change up your whole, like, moral and existential philosophy to live in a world where it's just, like, known fact that the afterlife does exist, you do have a soul, and it is basically just currency for higher beings. It's pretty messed up when you really think about it. Let's do one more. The Unclaimed. The sturdily bound story of a cleric of Shar whose soul was never claimed from the City of Judgment. I feel like this one's on theme. In life, her service had been impeccable. Daily did she devote herself to the Lady of Loss. Daily did she free herself from the tyranny of memory. All, in time, was lost to her. Her relations, her preferences, even her own name. Upon the altar of her devotion placed she the ultimate offering, her emptied mind. And when she died, when she awoke in death and found herself standing in the pale and faded City of Judgment, she waited for the Lady of Loss to retrieve her. 1,000,000 souls and more passed her in colorless gusts, but no hand materialized in hers. No voice whispered instructions in her ear. No guidance proffered itself from the bleached and barren sky. Time, immaterial time, passed around her like air, coming and going. And still, the goddess did not come for her devotee. cRPGs pitied her, as much as the Lord of the Dead is able, but could not intervene. This cleric of the Lady of Loss, unclaimed despite her worthiness, might yet have one more lesson to learn. That, not of forgetting, but of being forgotten. Yeah, that's pretty messed up. So very much on theme. The gods in Faerun kind of suck. Though perhaps Shar more than most. It does give us some potential context with Shadowheart, though, since she is a worshipper of Shar on some sort of super secret mission. But I suppose we'll find out more about that in time. And yeah, as it's stated in that book, cRPGs is the current god of the dead. Once upon a time it was Jurgle, until he gave his power to the Dead Three. Bane, Bahal, and Merkel. And then when they were slain, the power passed on to cRPGs. But now they're all back, so I don't know. Maybe they delegate. Who's to say? Okay, room's clear. Let's dump a few things real quick. And we'll delve ever deeper. I feel like we should do the little door first. Oh, that took us to a different level. Okay, no, let's go back. We should really focus on one floor at a time. Alright, so we are actually headed over here? No, here. Another grand double door. Leading into a particularly ostentatious crypt.
Trap. Be cautious.
A trapped crypt. So we need to proceed with the utmost caution. Focal points obviously on the massive sarcophagus in the middle. We'll avoid that for now. We'll walk the perimeter.
Best avoid that trap.
And yet more traps. We've got floor grates. So let's use this debris to stop them up. That way, if and when we set off whatever is waiting for us, we'll hopefully have time to deal with it as need be. Even if that's just fleeing the room. Trigger mechanism on the sarcophagus. Obvious, but nice to have it confirmed.
Watch how you go. There's a trap.
Wall mounts. That implies projectiles.
Trap. Be cautious.
So this whole room is basically one giant death trap. Designed to just completely obliterate anyone who messes with that central sarcophagi.
Looks like a trap there.
No such love for the poor guys on the periphery, though. I guess those were honored servants, spouses, pets.
Oh, no traps, please.
Guards, perhaps?
A trap. I better be careful not to trigger that thing.
Even if we disable the traps, we may still have a fight on our hands.
Be careful. There are traps about.
Watch how you go. There's a trap.
Given how elaborate this setup is, I really hope the treasure's worth it.
Step carefully. There's a trap.
Ooh, soul coin. Nice. Though I have been told that apparently the big area they had originally planned, i.e. hell, that the player was supposed to be able to go to actually spend these things, ended up getting cut at some point during development, which is a shame. Supposedly the region would have tied into at least 2 different companion quests.
These boots have seen everything.
But I get it. I mean, it does kind of sound like it would have basically been an optional, grindable dungeon type area or something. You know, the infernal pits of Avernus or something to that effect. Who knows, maybe they'll still make it in as DLC. I hear they're already talking expansions. Alright, let's stop up this last vent, and I think we're as good as we're gonna get.
I was trying to concentrate.
Oh, don't look at me like that, buddy. It's not that you're expendable, it's just that you're the best at this sort of thing. And also the most expendable. But mostly the first part. Okay, let's try that button. Well, it did something. Oh, wow, that's nothing. Okay. The Watcher's Guide. Magic spear with Death's Promise. When the spear misses its target, the wielder's next attack roll against that target gains True Strike. Time has dampened this spear's sheen, but the center glows a faint blue. The magic it exudes feels old, terrible, and divine. The spear was given to its previous owner for his unerring loyalty, even after death. Gotta say, that really makes it sound like we should be fighting this guy right now. But I won't question it. I'll just take my prize and go. Not, I suppose, that we really have a spear wielder, but... well, we could give it to,
stay crouched forever. Breathe deep.
We could give it to Shadowheart or Gale.
Very well.
And I guess that's it. Wow. I feel kind of silly about taking all those precautions now. I guess I got rattled by all the vents and gargoyle heads and whatnot. I was really expecting something a lot more elaborate. But no, it turns out all we had to do was cut the trigger wire. And the whole thing was useless. I suppose there's a lesson in all that about not overcomplicating things, but I'm just going to ignore that and move on.
Just out of view.
Oh, okay. That's the door we saw down below. Gotcha. So that just leaves the other door we passed earlier.
Swift as my feet can carry me.
Nice to have the pieces actually start fitting together about how this dungeon is structured. Back into the shadows.
Softer than a whisper.
Kind of silly, I suppose, considering I'm also waving around a torch, but...
Never wanted the easy path.
There's loot to be had.
And we've got potential hostiles right on the other side of this door. Couldn't make out much of what they said there, but something about loot. Oop, okay.
What are Gimblebuck and the others doing up there?
Maybe we should go take a look.
Not a chance. Could be a trap. Just keep your eyes peeled.
Well, I didn't want that to happen, but... huh. I think they're waiting to ambush us. Because we talked to the guy at the front door and told him that their exterior guards had just left. That's pretty cool. So should I try to talk to these guys? I mean, they're almost certainly hostile.
Something's rotten about this.
Well, it's a crypt, ain't it? Rot's to be expected.
Shut it! This is no time for joking around.
I will get rid of this, though. Sadly, we're not strong enough to huck it at them. Otherwise, I'd do that. It's cool, though. We've got grease. And, yeah, you know, they're listed as hostile. Let's take them out. Oh, wow. I was not expecting it to immediately explode. I mean, I guess I'm not complaining either. Let's take advantage of that. We'll go heavy. And that's one out. Nice. Let's tuck Gale back under cover. Oh my. Oh my. Okay. Thank goodness we got rid of the exploding barrel. I forgot to tag our guys in during the surprise round. I really need to get used to that. It's just such a weird mechanic. Your stealth character's not automatically tagging in. It's just not intuitive. Nice. I suppose on the bright side, this does give us a chance for an actual fight, as opposed to just a surprise round slaughter.
Can't afford to let up. Can't give up. Not now.
Everyone's tagged in now, right? Yeah. And we lost Quoth again, but no big deal. Alright, let's take these last three guys down. We're a little dinged up, but not too bad. Certainly better off than they are. My goodness, though, that opening grace was much more spectacular than I was expecting. Not gonna lie, that actually really kind of threw me off. Let's go for the archers. Or not.
Let's have a little fun.
And Imperious Rex will keep the fighter distracted. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now I'm okay, so now I may regret letting this turn into an actual fight. But we're not in rough shape just yet. Asterion's kind of dinged up, but that's fine. As aforementioned, he is fully expendable. I really thought I had water on Shadowheart. Okay, not going to lie. I thought that would heal everyone in the splash radius. But I guess not. Good to know. Now my crossbow's on fire. This has been a weird day. And Archer out. Thank you, Gale.
Sometimes the only way out is through.
Yeah, we're fine. Maybe. This guy's a barbarian in mid-range. I can't imagine poison spray'll do much. Yeah. And range attacks will be at a disadvantage, so let's go... Let's go Dissonant Whispers. That's just a straight-up save. Wow. Whisper of Death. Poor guy. I'll be over here composing a dirge. My goodness. My goodness. Okay, we good? Everyone done being on fire?
What path lies before me?
Wow. So, yeah, that fight got slightly away from me, but, it was... it was entertaining. And to be fair, it's not like we weren't going to long rest after this anyway.
If I don't get my beauty sleep soon, I may just get a tad malcontent.
Case in point, thank you, Asterion. Yeah, we have to long rest anyway to advance various companion stuff. But it was nice to get in one last fight before we inevitably get bogged down with dialogue. Journey through the jungle. The adventures of one Baron von Baron and his goblin guide Jaw as they braved the thick jungles of Chult. That does sound fun, though not particularly relevant to anything we're doing right now. I mean, aside from getting dinged, I suppose the one real loss here is that in not just wiping them all on round one, we did lose out on that arrow of ensnaring. The one that Torga tagged Asterion with. We did get poison, though. And a fair bit of other trade fodder. Not to mention, of course, whatever else we find around the rest of the ruins, since I am fairly certain we have completely wiped these guys out at this point.
Wish I had a bag of
But
holding.
you know what? One way to be sure of that is by asking them directly.
My faith will guide me.
Just gotta make sure they don't recognize us as the ones who killed them. Hey, Shadowheart. Looking good there. I was just going alphabetically. That was just the most convenient option.
The corpse remains silent.
Huh. Okay, hold on a second. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. We only get one try per corpse, so I'd like to chat up at least one of these guys. We'll be right back. And we're back. Okay, so it just turns out these guys have nothing to say. Generally speaking, apparently people who do have notable things to say will glow green, as long as you have Speak with Dead active. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But for now, I guess we just continue investigating the old-fashioned way. But we will keep that disguise running on Shadowheart. You know, just no reason. Why go through the hassle of dismissing it after we already conjured it up? Curse of the Vampire. Slightly on theme. On death, rather than overt death. Death and Divinity, a Godly Guide. Literally just read that one. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of duplicates here. Let's grab everything, then we'll take stock of what we've got. The Unclaimed. That's another one we literally just read. And the Mortal View. I believe I've actually got a copy of that already set aside. That I may or may not have found in Nettie's library. Chapel Records. That does sound important. We'll hold off on it for the moment. We'll circle back and grab it last. And then, you know, do another quick little reading session. At the very least, we'll cover the other couple of books we found in this specific chamber.
What did that do?
Door, I assume? Not much in the way of valuables.
You do not recognize the language on the plaque.
Right. You know, I'm just remembering that I forgot to look at the plaque on the sarcophagus downstairs, too, but we can't actually read any of these things, so I don't really feel compelled to go back down and look at it. Oh, yeah, they're just giving us the same set of books over and over again. That's like our 6th copy of that vampire book. So, given that we've already read 2 of them, we're really just going to have like 3 books to read. All right, let's have another quick little reading break. Starting with this. Chapel Records. An Annal of the Dead, listing hundreds of departed souls. Fine dust coats the pages of this weathered book. Beneath the bone-white powder, hundreds of short obituaries are recorded in tiny script. Grobian Tipple, Illmater, drowning. Yvain Arkinson, Ogma, internal rot. Devrin Stout, Saloon, fever. Yeah, that tracks. This was a temple of Jurgal, scribe of the dead. No idea if any of those names are relevant, but I'll make a note of them. And up next, let's do these 2, I guess. You know, I don't think we actually did read this one. I don't recognize that description. Death and Divinity, a Godly Guide. The spine of this heavy black book is inked with a chain of silver skulls. Death is too powerful a force for even a single god to contain. It is a duty that has been passed from hand to hand, splintered into smaller pieces. Disease, war, funeral rites. But there must always be an overseer of the cycle, as life falls away. For countless aeons it was Jurgal, the lord of the end of everything, presided over mortality with his unblinking stare, until even he grew weary. Young Bahal, Bane, and Merkel must have thought themselves conquerors when they came for the god of death, yet he used their ambitions to free himself. Merkel claimed primacy over death from Jurgal's bargain, but even he does not rule death alone. What is murder if not the most violent of deaths, seized by Bahal in his incessant greed? What need would there be for noble Kelemvor to judge passing souls, if one deity could hold the process entire? Even gods can die, after all. Those who worship death should remember that above all else. Nice, that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. The Dead 3, and the fact that they've since come back and we now have 5 gods of death. Jurgal, Bahal, Bane, Merkel, and Kelemvor. Which feels a bit excessive, but at least they have a narrative reason for it. I do appreciate that. Again, though, I do wonder if that's something they'll try to work into the plot here. If this game will directly link back into the previous game somehow. Or if they felt that just including the city was connection enough. Curse of the Vampire. An ancient text written on dry, cracking paper. Its cover is inscribed with every holy symbol you've ever seen, and some you haven't. Hearken close and beware the vampire. Beware its cold beauty, beware its charm, beware its curse. Above all, beware the pale noble, for the vampire cannot bear to be of the common folk. How doth one protect from the beast? Walk not in blackest night, for the vampire loves these nights more than any other. If you must walk, do so by the light of our moon, and take care. Carry the blessings and marks of your God at all times. But remember, your home is a fortress, if protected well. If you hear a knock in the night, be wary. Let no stranger into your home. If it be a friend, look upon them. Do you find them pallid and wan? See you any mark upon their neck? See you any dirt upon their clothes? Unless their need is great, turn away all but the most trusted. And if the beast finds a way into your home, flee. Leave love and family behind. You will not save them if you fight. You will not see them again. But they will see you, pale and smiling, calling them into the night. Spooky, spooky. But also overblown nonsense. Vampires aren't real. Right, Asterion? Right. This guy knows what's up. And we did have that one other book, the one about Bahal. But let's hold off on that for now. I'd like to at least finish rummaging around the ruins before we stop for another reading break. Space these things out, you know? Though again, I do suspect that we're done with the fighting. Those guys do seem to have clumped themselves all up for that ill-fated ambush, which certainly worked out well for us. Relatively speaking. We're alive, they're not. They really want us to read that one. Ooh, ignoble hat. Foppish and fluffy and built for just the right sort of dome, accustomed to having it set up on the head by other people. And an assortment of sandals. Not really a sandal guy, but we'll take them. And you know I gotta check. Yeah, I mean, not the best fitting of hats, but it does go well with our robes. But yeah, we'll refrain. Honestly, it's more because I just don't like the robe look. I'd wear the hat if I could wear it with my normal clothes, but for some reason they don't let you mix and match. So for now, we simply go hatless, because it's the only way to go robeless.
Not bad. I've had better days. And worse ones.
Yeah, that's just called life, Auric. You get used to it. Room's clear. Not much to see in here. Just more copies of books, a funny hat.
More for me.
Some other assorted sellables. We'll take that. Let's check this side alcove. Oh, yet another book. The Book of Final Breath. Oh man, this really is just going to be a reading episode, isn't it? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Thanks, omniscient narrator. The Fickle Humors of Fate. But again, we'll finish clearing this area first. Oh, I see. That's a switch. Wow, these guys just did not have much luck with their looting, did they? That's definitely one of the oddities about how they set up the economy in this game. You know, it's rife with game-isms. It's not really what you would consider a functional economy for a fictional world, which unfortunately does work against the immersion. Like the spread of food that we have on this table. Given the lit fireplace, the food laid out, we can probably assume that the looters were eating here, and this is food they brought with them. Since, obviously, food left behind by worshippers of Jurgle wouldn't have survived to this point. But the food is actually worth more than the loot that they have recovered while looting this place. Because in their efforts to control the economy, the developers made almost everything that doesn't have an actual in-game function, like food or consumables, to be near borderline worthless. Even supposedly valuable items. Like this entirely innocuous portrait, for example. Which, I mean, were this, you know, an actual tabletop game, would be worth hundreds of gold pieces. But because it's just a piece of set dressing here, it's worth 35 gold, which is enough to get us, like, a mug of ale? Like, half a sandwich, maybe? And even that might be a stretch, because, like, doing the math on supplies required to take a single long rest puts it in the value of hundreds of gold pieces. I mean, look, I know I'm overanalyzing it, it's just that as a dungeon master, it's one of my pet peeves. Unbalanced economies. And proper treasure placement, you know? There are a lot of things that Larian does well with this game, but balancing the economy is not one of them. Though, in their defense, that is a common flaw in many cRPGs, because, of course, they are games first, and simulated world second.
Ancient, indecipherable text covers the plaque.
A dead tongue. Whoever worshipped here must be long gone.
Okay, so am I just missing something with these plaques? Is there like a comprehend languages spell somewhere that I've just completely overlooked? That's like the 6th one we found now that we can't read. They have to have placed these things for a reason. Alright, sorry, I'm just looting out of habit now. We've still got odds and ends lying around, but I'll grab those between episodes. For now, let's lighten our load real quick, and I guess we'll check out those books. We're pretty much done here. So let's check out the 2 we just picked up in that alcove. Ancient Scroll. Though a bloom of mold has leached the ink from most of this scroll, its beginning is still legible. The Sealing Ritual. Our God cares not for petty ritual. There is only the sealing, and it is vital that we observe it with exacting reverence. On the day of the sealing, a mixture of bone and ash is consecrated. Upon the names of the dead we spread the offering, imbuing the ink with the essence of death. Of our God. Interesting, okay. So that may perhaps be the ritual that was used to seal up Wither, what I'm assuming is the Avatar, Or perhaps some high-ranking servant of Jurgle. And then we also found the Book of Final Breath, a slim ledger packed with rows of text. No matter how many pages are turned, there always seems to be another. Dense rows of scrawled text. The few legible entries seem to detail the names and final words of numerous individuals. Come see this! It's Madge Pinner. Laboratory explosion. Roth Cress, waylaid in a Neverwinter alley. You're blocking my light. Dana Ree, Waterdavian Featherlung. Oh, okay. Well, that was nothing. That was... Alright, well, we can definitely do another one. The Mortal View. Eyewitness accounts of the Bahal Spawn crisis. This mass-produced book has a cheap imitation of Bahal's symbol stamped onto the cover. The guild seal on the inside of the cover belongs to a printmaking collective in Baldur's Gate. Of course I remember. Knew the second that girl was walking that she'd be trouble. Little thief, always in everyone's business. And that ward of Gorion went right along with her. No surprise a wicked god's blood was running in their veins. Anonymous. Candlekeep. Aw, poor Imoen. She deserved better. Saravok and his lot are always the first ones that come to mind. You know this all started with a bit of iron and Nashkel? Everyone thought their weapons would rot out of their hands. Back then, I thought the problem was bad trade. Never took the man for a son of Bahal. Amnian mercenary. Interviewed on his deathbed. You dare speak that name to me? My mistress was turned to ash fighting those forsaken wretches. I curse Bahal. I curse Irenicus. I curse you. Hostile vampire at Katla slums. The 5 tore Tether to pieces. I don't think anyone expected more Bahal spawn showing up would fix the war that a peck of them started. Then again, they were all inclined to kill each other, eh? Good riddance. Here's hoping every last one of them has been wiped off the face of Faerun. Saradush Merchant. Retired. I'm not authorized to talk about any murder with someone like you. Take it up at the Sea Tower if you want to argue. But honestly, who cares if a Bahal spawn got it stuck to them? Their father's the killing type, after all. Flaming Fist Gauntlet. Baldur's Gate. Several hundred more interviews follow, most of them terse. That was actually a lot of fun. That wasn't at all what I was expecting. And you know, it's been a long time since I've played Baldur's Gate. That does bring back some fond memories. I occasionally entertain the idea of actually playing it on the channel, but where would I find the time? We've got so many other projects I still need to finish. Though, speaking of Gorion's ward... Missives of Candlekeep. A select collection of the most notable letters sent from Candlekeep. Many are dry reports of celestial movements or incomprehensible details of arcane rituals. However, this letter catches your eye. To the Sage Elminster. Over the past year, I've delivered many of your letters to Master Gorion, so I wanted to be the one to deliver this sad news. Alas, he is with us no more. Gorion and his ward left Candlekeep soon after your last letter to him arrived. They departed in the middle of the night, but were waylaid shortly after on the road to Baragast. The Gate Warden tells me that Gorion saw to it that several of his attackers joined him in the next world, before he was struck down. I hope this brings you the same grim comfort it brings me. Of his ward, there was no sign. In some better news, I received your letter to the library and was able to find much of the material you requested. It has been carefully secured and will travel with this letter. Yours in honor, Tristan P. Shale, librarian at Candlekeep. P.S. I hope you'll forgive my curiosity, but might I ask, why do you need so much information about Bahal Spawn? What exactly are you working on? Yeah, see now, Tristan, that is the sort of question that gets librarians killed. And of course, that was all just a nod to the original Baldur's Gate, the original prologue, wherein Gorian's ward, the player character, accompanied their ill-fated master on a grand adventure, only to see him killed by Saravok's assassins shortly after their departure from Candlekeep. So, yeah, Ruin's complete. And we are pretty much at time, but there is one more thing I'd like to do before we wrap things up. Oh, you know what? That is not what I was going for. Let's maybe try this again real quick. I did not realize that could collapse without us cutting the block above it. Interesting. Oh man, I'm all sorts of discombobulated now. Where? There we go. Okay. Sorry. Yes. Right. So yes, we are at time, but there is one more thing I'd like to do before we actually call it. Bear with me for a moment.
Road to Baldur's Gate is a long one. Who knows how long it'll take these folks to get there on foot.
If they make it. They're slow, vulnerable. Half or more will die long before Basilisk Gate.
Doesn't seem to trouble you a jot.
What good would it do for me to be troubled? We can't save them all.
Wow, harsh.
Let's go
Anyway.
this way.
Oh no! Come on! For goodness sake.
The corpse remains silent.
Apparently we killed Zakrug so hard that we can't actually chat up his corpse. Man. That is disappointing. I swear, we will chat up at least one corpse before we call it. And yes, now that we have the spell running, the corpse is very clearly marked. Fucking finally, jeez. Also, looking good there, Shadowheart.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
Okay, so we only get 5 questions, so we have to be careful what we ask. Though at a glance here, we're only seeing 5 questions anyway. But since we already know how he died and who did it, we'll save those 2 for last. Who are you?
Ned Cyranis of the Absolute.
Ned, huh? And how many other drow are there?
Minthara. Back at camp.
Minthara, right. That's likely the female drow we saw during the crashing cutscene. Tell me, do you know where you were infected with a Mind Flayer tadpole?
The corpse remains silent. It doesn't understand the question.
Right, of course, because as Nettie said, most of the local infected don't know they're actually infected. Where did you first start worshipping the Absolute?
Moonrise Towers. Initiation.
Okay, so Moonrise Towers, that's something. And I don't suppose you remember any Mind Flayers being involved?
No.
The spell's power wanes. You can ask no more questions.
All right, okay. Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, we didn't get a whole lot out of it, but we did get some name drops. Moonrise Towers and Minthara. Not to mention, of course, it does seem to concretely tie the Absolute to whatever the overarching Mind Flayer plot might be. Though I suppose it could also just be that those key figures, Minthara or Gut, the two big names we've heard so far, are simply normal mortals who have instead learned how to alter Mind Flayer tadpoles to their own advantage. That's another possible angle to pursue. We'll have to see how things play out as we move forward. That said, we are past time. We have accomplished almost everything that I set out to do today. Aside from talking to Zakrug, that was kind of a bummer. But, you know, it is what it is. I guess we just have to be careful with that overkill. We'll hit the pause button for now. I will take care of the usual off-screen bookkeeping, go do another lap through the ruins, make sure we didn't miss anything. And we will pick up here next time, as things get a little more campy. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Revenant, Alois, CrowkingLoR, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, V23, EgonAlter, Emile, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Rowan Church, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
You have a sense these are names, a list. But of what?